Can I animate cake? Earlier this year, I created some slicing animation using both chocolate and fruit, and the internet seemed to like those, so I thought I'd try the same thing, but with cake. Now, this is pretty much just technical animation. Forget the principles of animation, forget the squash and the stretch. This is just taking an object and cutting away one tiny slice at a time, over and over and over. So as far as animation difficulty goes, this is pretty much a piece of cake. My plan is to put some cakes on a rotating base, and I'm gonna slice away almost like I'm slicing a slice of cake. And my goal is to spin the cake at the same speed at which I'm slicing. So the slicing always happens along the same plane in space. So I need to plan out how fast the cake is spinning, and that'll tell me how much cake I have to slice away each frame. My instinct is to go for one full rotation every 10 seconds. So it's not too fast, not too slow. I kind of want to find that sweet spot. So if it takes me 10 seconds for one full rotation at 12 frames per second, that's going to come out to 120 frames per rotation. And knowing that there's 360 degrees in a circle divided by 120 frames, that comes out to 3 degrees of cake having to be sliced every frame. I took a few minutes to make this simple mock-up so that I could visualize the speed of the animation. And with this animation planned, let's get to the fun part, baking some cakes. To help me keep track of the animation speed, I've rigged up a simple system, and it's a wire pointing to spacing markers that I've taped under the rotating platform. So every frame I just rotate to the next mark. And these are of course marks that are set at every 3 degrees, so that'll give me that 10-second rotation. Okay, so I need to bail on this cake. You can see that as I sliced, the center point of the rotation, it drifted off to the side, and there's no way to correct that. So that's a fail. I need to completely start over. I've dealt with some frustrating animation in my day, but this one really takes the cake. I'm also going to use this opportunity to speed up the animation. I think 10 seconds is just a bit too slow. It's really hard to cut those thin of slices. So I'm going to speed it up to 6 seconds for a full rotation, which turns out to be 5 degrees per slice. So that should be easier to work with. All right, back to the kitchen. So I've spent 3 days animating cakes, and I've made a decision to throw away all of that animation. I have 3 issues with the animation so far. 1, the cakes are too crumbly. 2, the patterns inside the cake are too small. And 3, I'm not using the right knife. I've done some research, which I probably should have done before, and I found some solutions for baking smoother, denser cakes. And I'm also going to simplify the patterns inside. So when I pour the batter into the pans, I'm not gonna do like a bunch of tiny rings. I'm just gonna do big, bold shapes, and that should read better in the animation. And with those solutions found, let's get back to slicing up these cakes. While I'm animating some cakes, I have an exciting announcement. I'm hosting a stop motion challenge and giving away $10,000 in filmmaking gear and animation equipment. In partnership with Lassie, I'm challenging you to create some amazing stop motion animation for a chance to win some fantastic prizes. So what is the challenge? Well, I want you to animate a person. Pose, take a picture, pose, take a picture, pose, take a picture, pose. It can be yourself, it can be a friend, but just grab a camera and get as creative as possible animating a person. The contest starts today, November 18th, and runs through January 6th. And I will be personally watching all of these submissions and picking the winners. Head over to collective.lassie.com/stop-motion-challenge for the full details, including judging criteria and the prize list. As I was animating, I was starting to think about how I want to present this animation. And I don't really want the same shot over and over of the cake rotating around. So I started to visualize what other interesting shots I could add to maybe create like a 1-minute short piece. And I thought it'd be cool to contrast that spinning shot with just the texture of the cake. You just see like that marbling hypnotic pattern filling up the whole screen. So I built this contraption where I have this box and I put square cakes inside of it, camera head on, and I just push the cake forward and slice a little bit each time. And compared to the spinning cakes, this is incredibly simple, and I flew through 4 cakes in a single day. For post-production, I did very little work on this footage. In the raw animation, you can see the rigging underneath the cake, so I just cropped it out of the shot. From there, I did a basic color correction to boost the saturation. After that, I added a bit of vignette and put a touch of color into the dark background. And for a final touch, I added some glow to the highlights, and that just gives it a kind of glamour shot vibe. Here's the difference between the raw animation and the final footage. For these oddly satisfying types of videos, creating the sound is one of my favorite parts of production. So good visuals are one thing, but adding interesting sound on top of that, it's really the icing on the cake. Admittedly, I'm gonna get a bit weird with the sound. I don't necessarily want it to be pleasing. It's gonna be a little gross and mushy. I kind of want to split people's opinion. If half the people say they love the sound and half the people say they hate it, that's kind of where I want to land. I don't want it like mediocre and in the middle. And with all the post-production and sound complete, here is the final animation. Cool, so that is animating cakes. This took an incredible amount of work to make, mainly because of all the failing, the experimenting, and just the time it takes to bake and decorate cakes for every single shot. But I am super happy with the results. Was it worth all the time that it took? I don't know. But I took on the challenge, I pushed through some failure, and I have something to show for it, so I'm super proud of that. And with that said, thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe if you want to see more animated content, and I got no more cake buns. I'll see you in the next video.